Good evening, teacher, and good evening, everyone. We are from Group 2, and today we're going to present you guys about the Good Earth by Pearl S. Bob from Chapter 10 to Chapter 14. And our theme is relating to work hard versus work smart. So, in our team, there are 7 members. We have Rathe, Thanot, Chantia, Bong Lekanan, me, Sin Cheng, Sok Ho, and Yong Sei. So before we go into our topic, I'm going to show you guys the table contents. We have 7 key parts for it. We have first the introduction, which we're going to talk a brief summary background of our story. And then the second, we have the summary from chapter 10 to chapter 14. And third, we have key scenes and analysis of the stories. Fourth, we have critical analysis, which including both our Marxist and psychoanalytic. Fifth, we have theme, work hard versus work smart, which we're showing some information both in the book and also some information from our interviewee. And then we're also having a key quote, and last but not least is a conclusion. So without any further delay, let us get started with the first part, which is introduction. I've mentioned before, I'm going to briefly explain the background of our story, The Good Earth. So the story of The Good Earth was written by Pearl S. Bob, and then it was first published in the 1931. The story is set in rural China during the early 20s, followed the life of a poor farmer. And the story also used the land as one of the symbols of stability, tradition, and moral strength. And the story is also offer a powerful portrait of life, of rural life, and highlights how devotions to the land shapes identity and destiny. So now let us move on to our summary part, which is from chapter 10 to chapter 14. So as we flashback from the previous group, the group mentions at the end of the chapter 9, Wang Long and the families are planning to go into south. So in chapter 10, Wang Long and his families are moving to south. They're walking to south, they pass the house of Wang and see beggars cursing the people because they still have food to eat and willing not share to others. And when they're walking, Olan and Wang Long run into a group of people who are also going to the south as well. So they're going with them by boarding a train called Fire Wagon, as you can see in the first picture. And then when they arrive in the south, Wang Long using the small amount of money that he had left, buying some mat to build shelters, and then when he go there, Wang Long met an old man, and the old man told him how to beg for food and asking for shelters, and he also tell Wang Long the public kitchens where he can purchase a small an inexpensive meal which costs only for 1 pence. But Wang Long, he did not want to work as a beggar when he arrived in South. So he found out that he can work as a rickshaw driver. So he used the money that he had left to rent the rickshaw. And for Olan, children and his father, there are bags for money and food stuff to survive. One night when Wang Long came back from the work, there was a stew of cabbage and pork on the fire for dinner. And when he found out that his son had been stealing it instead of begging for it, he refused to eat and even take his son outside and beat him up. So let's continue back. So spring started to approaching, and then Olan was again pregnant with a child. Wang Long wanted to go back to his lands as it is a good time for harvesting, and Olan suggested that they could sell their daughters to buy their way back to their land, but Wang Long refused to sell his daughter. And as it is officially spring now, Olan and the boy are still searching for food, and Wang Long still works as a rickshaw driver. And one day, Wang Long sees a man seized by soldiers in the street. He hides in a shop and asks the keeper what is going on. And the men tell him that they are seizing men for war. So Wang Long stopped working as a rickshaw driver at daylight, but turned to work at night instead to prevent being seized by the soldiers. And soon the enemy can break through the cities, and the poor also break into the rich man's walls just because people are running around like maniacs carrying the rich man's belonging. And at that time, Wang Long found himself in the innermost court and seeing a middle-aged man begging Wang Long not to kill him. And the man said that he would give Wang Long any amount of money that he want. So Wang Long took this chance and asked the old man for asked that man for gold, and the man gave it to him. Without counting the gold, he trusted in his bosom and decided that they're going back to their land tomorrow. As for Ola, she's aware of how the rich hide their wealth, so she also steals a large amount of jewelry from the walls of the rich people's home. And that is the summary from chapter 10 to chapter 14. As for the next part, is about key scene and analysis, represented by Paul Decanin.
Continuing from my teammate, I'm going to talk about the key scenes and key analysis from chapter 10 to 14. In that chapter is when the Warren family face a difficult time, and that is when they are forced to leave their farm and go to the big city in the south. So the first key scenes is that when, because of the starvation, the family has to leave. They see a fire balloon, which we call a train. Wang Long is terrified. He thinks it is a metal monster. He doesn't understand how it moves without an animal pulling it. And this shows the clash between the old world and the new world that they face. Wang Long is a man of the dirt and animals. The trend represents modern life, which is fast and scary. By stepping on that trend, he feels like he's losing himself. He isn't a proud farmer anymore, and he's just a poor passenger. And moving on to the next slide. The second key scene is the life in the city. In the city, they live in a tiny hut made of straw, marked by Olan. At that time, Wang Long gets a job pulling a rickshaw. Think of a rickshaw like a human taxi. He has to run all day, pulling rich people through the streets while they yell at him to go faster. This is called dehumanization. On his farm, Wang Long was a master. In the city, he is treated like a horse. And here, Olan becomes the leader. Since he was once a slave in a city house, she knows where to find food and how to talk to people. And Wang Long is lost, but Olan is a survivor. She is the one keeping them alive. For the third key scenes, as they stay in the city, the kids change. They learn to beg and steal. One day, the son brings home a piece of meat that he stole. Wang Long is very angry. He throws the meat on the floor and he says, "My son will not be thief." But Olan just picks it up and cooks it. She says, "Meat is meat." And this shows the moral decay. The good earth met them honest people, but the city is hollow and bad, and it forced good people to do bad things just to eat. And it shows the difference between Wang Long, who cares about honor, and Olan, who cares about survival. And for the fourth key scenes, which is the scene that selling the doctor, things get so desperate that Olan suggests selling their small doctor into slavery. She says if they sell her doctor, the girl will get food, and the family will get enough money to go back to the farm. Wang Long cries because he loves his doctor, but he also misses his land so much it feels like a sickness. And this is extreme pragmatism. In the city, people become like products you can buy and sell, and Olan is willing to give up one child to save the whole family. And it shows how much they worship the land. They are willing to give up their own blood to get back to the soul. And last but not least, the riot, the luck of the thief. Finally, a giant mob of poor people attacks a rich man's house. Wang Long is pushed inside, and he finds a rich man hiding and scares him until the man gives him gold. And at the same time, Olan finds jewels hidden behind a brick in the wall. And this is a huge irony. Wang Long always wanted to be an honest man who works the earth, but in the end, he gets his farm back by being a thief. This goal is what makes him a rich man later in the book. It's also shows that in the story, you often have to go to do something bad to get something good. And to wrap up these chapters, it shows us that the good earth is where the family is happy and honest, and the city is a place that almost destroyed their souls. They survive, but they are not the same people anymore. And for the next part, which is critical analysis, Maxis, and psychoanalysis, analytic, Tanut will cover on this part.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Tanut, and I will be presenting on the psychoanalysis. This is one part of the critical analysis of our chapter. So before we get started, I would like to introduce you a bit to what is psychoanalysis. So psychoanalysis is the act of analyzing the mind. So we try to understand the unconscious mind, the repressed human mind, in order to understand why humans have a certain experience, a culture, a language, or in our case, human choices and decisions. Next. Now, psychoanalysis have four big elements that we are going to look into when we do psychoanalysis. The first is desire and fear. So desire focuses on human want. It could either be material or non-material thing. So desire is just what we want, but it isn't necessarily what we need. Fear, on the other hand, fear focuses on what humans are afraid of. It could take the form of various things. Hence, it could be material or non-material. For example, for material fear, you can fear a knife because it can kill you. But for non-material fear, you can fear failure, something like that. So why is this too important? It's because people desire and fear lead them to act a certain way that can either result in either a positive or a negative consequences. For example, you desire to pass the exam, so you study hard and pass, or you fear to fail the exam, so you cheat, and this may you get caught and lose point even more. So that's how desire and fear inspire people to do something. Now the next element is need. Need focus on necessity, what the human require to live and function. Need is classified into a hierarchical order. We will look at this order in the next slide. So let's start from the bottom. So the biggest human need is the physiological need. Physiological need cover some things like food, water, air, basically things that humans are required to live. The next level is safety. So humans need to feel safe. For example, we want to have the insurance of food security, of a home to live in, of clothes to wear, that is feeling safe. The next needs is social needs. Social needs are like the need of love, the need of friendship, and the need for belonging. Next, above that is the need for self-esteem. Need for self-esteem is like the need for status and desire for wealth and something like that. Now, the last need is the self-actualization needs. Self-actualization need is the need to make a name for yourself, to do something for others, because once you have all your needs met, then you will not worry about yourself anymore. You will start to care about society and other stuff. That is why this is Maslow's hierarchy of need. Next, looking at the next element, it's value. So value is the principle or standards that a person uses to judge what is important, what is right, and what is wrong in life. So there are two types of value, which is personal value and social value. Personal value are the value that only you have. It varies and is unique to individuals, while social value are the value that society as a whole has. And now, last but not least, is the conflict element. So the conflict in this content is not always violence, but it could be violence. So conflict, most of the time, it just refer to like a set of circumstances, events, or thoughts that are opposed to your values or something that you stand for. So there are also types of conflict, such as the internal conflict and the social conflict. Inner conflict is like the inner struggle between yourself, between your desires, between your value or want or something like that. While external conflict is by social conflict is external conflict caused from other people or from society. Next. Now that we got that out of the way, let us move on to the analysis. So the first point that I want to psychoanalyze upon is Wang Leng's move to the south. So first of all, he moved to the south because he has the desire and fear of life and losing life. So he does not desire wealth or status at this point in life, but he wants to make sure that his family is enough and and want to make sure that he and his family have something to eat. And the sight of his children and family starving, it triggers a fear that overrides his attachment to his land, and therefore it drives him to make a decision to move south. Now the need. So the need is a physiological need, which is the need for food, water, and something like that. So this need is very important as it is the biggest human need ever, and if without this need, humans cannot live, cannot continue to strive. Now values. So Wang Leng, he values family. That's why he chose to move south, because before he can move south, he has the chance to sell his daughters or abandon his father, but no, he decided to keep them, and his decision to travel south is an act of his value triumphing over his like the necessity or rationality. He chose to have the path of becoming a refugee to the south rather than violating his moral code by selling his family. Now the conflict. So the central conflict in Wang Lang during the journey south is the tension between his identity as a farmer and his necessity as a refugee. So Wang Lang is, although he is just a farmer, he is very proud of himself. He has land, he has a house, and he has a family. So, but due to the drought, he is forced to move south. And if he moves south, he will just be gonna be reduced to just a beggar who doesn't have any land, and people will look down. So this is a conflict between his ego, which he eventually still go along with it because it is necessary that he must fulfill his physiological needs. Next page. Now the next is I will psychoanalyze Wang Leng's participation in the riot. So as we all know, in the last chapter 14, Wang Leng participated in the raid of the rich man's house, and he also robbed a rich man of all his gold. So what drives Wang Leng to do this? First, let's look at his desire and fear. So Wang Leng's actions are again driven by the life instinct, which means in this moment he is desire not the gold. He did not desire the gold for the luxury, but he know what the goal represents, which is the salvation of his family and his return to his land. So what he fears is that if he don't take the gold, if he don't rob the rich man, he might be faced with the permanent loss of his chance to return back to his farm and his identity as a farmer who lived by his land. Now the need, let's look at his need. So as we all know, the land is Wang Leng's primary goal. He loves his land, and therefore when faced with the chance to get his land back, he definitely will take the chance as the land. Even though you might not think that it is necessary, but we all know that in Maslow hierarchy there is also the human need for self-esteem. So it is the land that provides Wang Leng with his sense of identity, with his sense of respect, with his sense of confidence. Therefore, the land is also a need for Wang Leng. The next is his values. So Wang Leng, he value being a honest farmer who work for nobody and work for only himself, and that's why he decided to rob the rich man. Although robbing, the act itself is not honest, but what's going on through his mind during that time was because of he noticed that if he stayed in the city any longer, he and his family might become even worse. Like you see, his children are beginning to start robbing people, and his wife and his father began to just start begging and begging. So it's not really that good. Therefore, he valued his family honor and pride. That's why he decided to go and steal from the rich man. Now last is the conflict. So the conflict is between being good and being necessarily evil. So although his identity is an honest man, however, in order to maintain that identity, he needs to steal the gold. But if he steals the gold, it will also be a dishonest act. So this is the conflict. So yeah, that is all for my psychoanalysis, and we will move on to my teammates' next analysis, which is the Marxist criticism.
Okay, thank you, Tanut, for your deep insight and explanation. Good evening, everyone, and hello, teacher. I hope everyone is having a great day and great time right now. My name is Osoko, and today I'm going to talk about a Marxist criticism. Before that, we are going to discuss what is Marxist theory. So it was developed by Karl Marx. It is an socio-economic framework viewing history through class struggle, where capitalist societies are divided between the owners of production and the workers. It argues that the owner of production export and profit from the workers, leading to alienation and conflict. And it predicts that the workers will eventually revolt to seize the means of production and escape from their rule of tyranny. There will be 5 core concepts that I'll be talking about. The first one will be about the class struggle. Secondly, means of production. Third, exploitation. Fourth, alienation. And lastly, it is about base and superstructure. Okay, now let's not waste any time. Move out to our first point. It will be about class structure. So the famine driven a movement of peasants into the city revealed the direct class struggle. Just like how Wang Lang moved to the city with his family of 4 or 5. The poor speak collectively, not as individuals, emphasizing shared oppression. The rich in the village, they live happily without moving at all, and they have a lot of food in stock, and they do not want to share it. Whereas the poor, they had to move out and resort to cannibalism by eating their own family or friends, just like Van Long Eckhart did. In the streets, the starving crowd repeatedly cry, "We are hungry." These lines reflect Marx's idea that class consciousness emerges when people experience the same material suffering. "We are hungry" here is divided into 2 meanings. The one is the poor and the rich. The poor, they said, "We are hungry" because they are really starving. They do not have any food to eat at all. If they will continue to starve like this, they will die. That's why this is a shout of the desperation. Whereas the rich, the meaning of "we are hungry" means that they order someone to make them food. They are too lazy to make it themselves. And the rich, they do not care at all. They all care about themselves. So the rich responded fear and violence. When the crowd enters the rich man's court, a wealthy woman screams, "Kill him, kill him." Her reaction exposed the ruling class instinct to protect property rather than the precious life of those poor people. Dialogue in these chapters makes it clear that the poor and rich speak from opposing class positions, turning hunger into open conflict. Secondly, we are going to talk about the meaning of production. To Wang Lang, the land is his life. It means everything to him. It provides him a source of income and food. The land is the means of production. When famine forces him away from it, he loses not only food but identity and power. He reflects on the land constantly, saying in despair that without the land they could not live, and that is actually true because right now without land all they can do is begging on the street, while exposing to constant danger of living there, especially on the road where the horse keep on coming. This showed that Marx's argument separated from productive resources the work of their agency. In contrast, the rich possesses wealth, labor, they remain indoors surrounded by goods while producing nothing themselves. Their speech is detached from labor, reflecting ownership rather than contribution. Moving on, we will be talking about the exploitation. So exploitation here is mostly clearly revealed throughout the story, especially in this chapter where the rich and poor is quite contrast from each other is quite evident. Outside, the poor beg desperately, calling, "Give us food, we are starving," while inside the rich household there is silence, luxury, and stored wealth. One of the poormen shouts briefly that the rich have gold hidden somewhere in their walls, exposing resentment toward horrid surplus. While the poor was begging on the street, the rich, they exploit them while profiting off of them and hide their asset in somewhere inside their wall. So when Van Long confronts the rich man at the court where it was breached, the rich man pleads, "I have nothing, nothing." Even though Van Long sees valuable everywhere, this line reveals that how the ruling class had wealth and preserved dominance. Marx's theory interprets this moment as exposure of exploitation. The rich denied possession while benefiting from the labor of peasants. Van Long theft is also theft of gold also becomes symbolic. The gold represents surplus value taken from generation of laborers. We don't know how hard other people is working for this gold, and for Van Long to just steal it, it becomes symbolic. His silence while taking it suggests a reversal of power. For once, the poor act while the rich beg. Next, we'll be talking about the alienation. So, alienation dominates Van Long's experience in the city. He is alienated from labor, land, and human dignity. In his hometown, he was righteous. He worked very hard through his land. He worked every day, even though complaining he does not harm any other people. But here, all he could do was working for other people and begging. Reduced to pulling a rickshaw and begging, he is no longer producing any value for himself. He describes the city life as one where a man is treated like a dog in the street. showing dehumanization. Like in one scene where a horse almost tramped him over when he just got there and started begging. Olan also experienced alienation, particularly gender alienation. She speaks little, but her silence begging reflects her internalized oppression. She used to be a quite quiet person, but now she was forced to beg and become talkative so that she's able to earn some sort of income for her family. When she kneels to beg without complaint, a lack of speech becomes evidence of how poverty erases voice and identity. The poor are alienated from one another as well. Hunger turns people inward, and survival replaces solidarity. The monstering Marx claimed that extreme material deprivation fractures social bonds. They were forced to be violent because of hunger and no income. And lastly, it will be about the base and superstructure. So in this chapter, the economic base, famine, poverty completely reshape the superstructure. Law, morality, and social order. Hunger destroy respect for authority, just like the scene where they breach the court and start stealing and beating up other people. They were not afraid because it was their lifeline and it was a chance to make something, maybe retire for a lifetime. Begging, stealing, and rioting become normal. Wang Long notes that in the city there was no right and wrong, only hunger, showing moral collapse under economic pressure. The rich still appeal to social rules, shouting orders and threats, but their authority fails once the crowd enters their home. The rich woman's cry, "Kill him," shows that when the economic base is threatened, moral restraint disappears and violence replaces law, and law no longer hold any meaning. This supports my argument that ideology and morality exist only as long as material conditions support them. When the base collapses, the superstructure collapses with it. This is all for the main point. So in conclusion, the Good Earth exposes a social divided by class, especially in this 10 to 14 chapter, ownership and hunger. A poor cry we are hungry while the rich scream kill them, revealing how economic inequality shapes language, values, and behavior. And that is all for my part. Thank you for listening. For the next part, it will be presented by my classmate. They will go deep and dive to the background of our interviewees.
Thank you, Sokhor. Next, I would like to briefly introduce the background of our interviewee. Her name is Sokhliep, and she is currently pursuing her master degree in Australia. She comes from a family that strongly value hard work and resilience, which shape the way she approaches challenges in life. And at the same time, she also believes in working smart, like improving her skill, adapting to difficult situations to create a better opportunities. Although she grew up aware of traditional family roles, she supports gender equality and the idea that everyone should have the chance or the right to pursue their goal. Her background can help us understand how the value of hard work and smart work influence or shape her overall perspective and life. And next, Chantil will be the one who explore this topic.
Of the whole book cover of the hard work. So in our group, we only mentioned about the chapter 10 and to chapter 14. But even between these 5 chapters, we can see that the different meaning of the hard work. So I will guide through. I will show guys everyone through each chapter. So start from the chapter 10. I titled it "Uplifting." We can see that in this chapter, famine for Wang Long and his family to leave their land, and this moment is deeply symbolic. Because Wang Long, in that situation, Wang Long carried his old age brothers, and also Olan carried the children. And in that situation, no one complained, and their body are exhausted, but they continue to moving. And so here we can interpret that hard work is not farming in this situation. In this situation, and also not earning money, it's about the physical and emotional endurance. They refuse to despair, and even when the land which represent life can no longer earn the money. So through our interview, we also have the back up this theme of our story, which is our interview. We mentioned that in the situation of poverty, what we need the most is that the unity and emotional strength. So next, jump up to the chapter 11. The chapter 11 we working on, I titled it as the back to work, because in this situation, Wang Long have already become a rickshaw driver in the southern city, and this job is really brutal as he ran all day and pulling rich men who look down on him, and the work humiliated him, but he accepted it because survival matter more than the bride. At the same time, Olan and the children and the old man beg, and in this situation, we can say that work hard is not always respected. Work is not always dignified, but persistent keep them alive. And also we have the backup example from our interviewee, which is she described about the poverty in that situations. She will try, and everyone in the family will try to find the extra work. And she also provide the example about the situation in our society, like the COVID-19, when everyone experience the hardship of losing job and change from a physical place to like online place. Like everyone need to adapt quickly. So then we also jump to chapter 12. So for chapter 12, it was the life in the city. In this chapter 12, the family experienced like city life more deeply. Like Wang Long hear the rumor of revolution, but he does not fully understand about them. He see beggars, theft, and chaos. Survival become competition. Like he can see a lot of people struggle and lost their life even in the city. So Wang Long worked daily yet gained very little, and this chapter emphasized that hard work does not guarantee immediate success. However, even if it does not show the reward immediately, Wang Long in this chapter refused to steal even when hunger is served. In the unit, we can see that Wang Long, when he get the news of his son because who become the thief, like stealing order, he beat his son up, and he even refused to eat the meat. And in this chapter, we can say that survival and he different situation about the beggar and the thief. Even if his family beg, he still have dignity because they does not again the morality, but the thief is like kind of illegal. So survival and dignity based on relentless effort, and even the small even the reward is small. And from our interview, we mentioned about the solution that she will say she mentioned about the success, like education and skill come from discipline and our long hour of effort. So for the chapter 13, it's for the spring. At that time, Wang Long facing really a difficult choice, which is selling his doctor and return home. Like, should he return not to his land or sell his doctor to survive? This conflict represents desire versus the sacrifice. Returning home means hope, but selling a child means survival. Wang Long chose to wait and endure hunger to protect his family future. Hard work here is not physical labor, it's a patient and moral resistance. And we can say that, and we can interpret from it that hard work is long-term, sacrifice is not quick. And our interviewee mentioned that this situation comes from the fear of instability and desire to protect and secure the family. So jump up to the next chapters, which is chapter 14. I mentioned it as the opportunity. In that situation, the poor break into the rich man wall. The chaos break out as the poor people break into the house of rich, and Wang Long is swept into this moment of opportunity, not because he planned it, but because he's endured and long enough to reach it. And in that situation, he grabbed the opportunity and like threatened the wealthy man to give him the money. And in that situation, we can see that after survive long enough and endure long enough of the hard work, he can find the opportunity to build his family wealth. So our interviewee also mentioned that financial stable is the symbolic of the hard work. All in all, the conclusion of the meaning of hard work through this chapter, we can see that hard work sustains life when food, land, and hope is disappear, and hard work build resilience, both physical and morality, and hard work receive opportunity even when success seems impossible. For the next theme, I will leave it to Yongsen to describe it.
Thank you, Chantir. My name is Yongsen, and today I will be exploring the theme of work smart on how Pearl Asbach, The Good Earth, shows that hard work alone is not enough for success, and how this idea connect with real world experiences shared in a recent interview that we conducted. Next slide, please. In The Good Earth, the characters Wang Lung and Olan work extremely hard throughout their lives. At the beginning, they live in poverty, farming the land and performing all kinds of physical labor. Later, when famine forced them to the city, Wang Lung pulls a rickshaw all day and Olan begs just to keep their families alive. Despite this exhausting work, they barely survive. This shows that hard work alone does not guarantee success or progress. Wang Lung and Olan's situation is limited by social and economic force beyond their control. The wealthy city families do little or no physical labor at all, but still maintain their comfort and power through ownership and social status. Next slide, please. The turning point in the story comes when Wang Lung and Olan begins to work smart during a chaotic riot. Wang Lung uses fear to force a rich man to give him gold. Meanwhile, Olan quietly steals jewels while others panic. Her calm and careful action is the clear example of working smart in the story of The Good Earth, on how to take advantage of such an opportunity, like choosing vulnerable items. Next slide, please. After gaining wealth, Wang Lung continues to work smart by investing in land rather than spending monies on luxury. Owning land gives him long-term security and social status. The land begins to work for him, symbolizing how smart decision combined with hard work led to lasting success. Next slide, please. The theme of working smart is also strongly reflected in the interview we conducted. The interviewee, a Chinese Cambodian, explained that from her perspective, hard work alone is barely enough because of systemic barriers such as low wages, unequal power structures, and restricted access to education. This systemic issue creates what the interviewee calls systemic barriers, meaning many people are trapped regardless how much effort they put in. This much is what we see in The Good Earth. Wang Lung and Olan work tirelessly but remain poor due to the unequal power structures and limited opportunities. Their hard work kept them alive but doesn't improve their situation until they learn to act strategically. The interview also pointed out that people can be discouraged no matter how hard they try, which reflects Wang Lung's frustration and hardship in the city. Success often requires more than effort because it requires understanding and navigating the system, seizing opportunity, and taking smart choices. Both The Good Earth and the interview highlight that hard work is necessary but not sufficient for success. True progress happens when people combine effort with strategy, timing, and the ability to adapt to their social environment. Moreover, in the story, working smart involves using moments of chaos to gain wealth, investing wisely, and owning land to secure long-term prosperity. While in real life, as the interviewee shows, working smart means recognizing systemic barriers and finding ways to work around them, such as gaining education, making informed decisions, and using resources effectively. This theme is highly relevant today. Many people still face systemic barriers, obstacles that limit their success. Employers and educators often value problem solving and strategic thinking just as much as hard work. Understanding how to work smartly help us succeed in school as well as in our future careers. To sum up, the theme of working smart teaches us that while work hard is important, it must be paired with intelligence, strategy, and awareness of the social system to create real progress. That brings me to the end of my part of the presentation. To wrap everything up and share our final conclusion, I'll now hand it over to Rota.
Thank you, Yong-Sein. So now let's go through the key quote together. The quote from The Good Earth, we go back to the land tomorrow, we go back to the land in chapter 14 on page 147 is spoken by Wang Lang when his family are facing extreme poverty. Instead of giving up, Wang Lang believed that returning to the land and working is the only way that his family can survive. And for Wang Lang, the land represents hard work, stability, and survival. In other words, Wang Lang believed that the success comes from physical labor. He trusts effort more than planning, innovation, or strategy. And this strongly reflects a hard work or work hard mindset. And throughout the book, we can see that Wang Lang becomes successful by working long hours on the land. Even during famine, he believed that labor will save his family. And this shows that in traditional society, especially during poverty, hard work is seen as a moral duty. And survival often depends on endurance, not shortcut. Next, please. So now let's shifting to a modern perspective together. This same belief also appears in our interviewee quote as well. Let's take a look at it. The value of hard work has always been strongly emphasized in my family. Similarly to Wang Lang, this quote shows that hard work is passed from generation to generation. Family often relies on unity, sacrifice, and endurance during crisis. Our interviewee also mentioned some examples like taking extra job, reducing expense, and continuing to work through hard time during COVID-19 pandemic. Next, please. However, the interview also present and offer us a different approaches. Like if my family faced poverty, I would focus on improving my education and skill to create better opportunities. And this statement highlights a key differences. Instead of focusing only on survival through physical labor, it emphasizes planning for a better future. Education and skill building represent a work-smart mindset that create a long-term opportunities. And by developing knowledge and ability, people can improve their chance of stability, adapt into a more difficult situation, and also break out of the cycle of poverty. Next, please. While The Good Earth emphasizes working hard as the main path to survival, modern perspective combine both working hard and working smart. To sum up, chapter 10 to 14 of The Good Earth mark a major turning point for Wang Lang, as famine and poverty forced him and his family to leave their land. Key themes also show that his identity and survival are closely tied to the land and revealing his deepest values. From a psychoanalytic perspective, we can see that these attachments reflect fear of loss and a basic need for security and control. While from a Marxist perspective, these chapter 10 to chapter 14 emphasize class struggles and economic inequality, showing how land functions as the means of production and how separation from it can lead to exploitation and alienation. Especially The Good Earth, the whole book also emphasizes that hard work can lead to survival, while our modern interviewees show the importance of both working hard and working smart, especially on the working smart through education and planning. From both the book and in real-life interview, we can learn that survival and success require both working hard and working smart. Overall, this chapter reveals how struggle can shape characters like Wang Lang, Olan, and his families, and also the other characters in the book. And one of the important lessons that we learn is that determination and strategy are essential for overcoming hardship. That's all of our presentation. Thank you for your listening and paying attention. If you have any question, feel free to ask us. Thank you.